Welcome to Explain Simply channel, where complex topics become crystal clear and easy to understand.
Picture this. A chimpanzee stumbles through the forest and discovers something magical. A pile of overripe plums split open, releasing the most intoxicating fruity smell. He can't resist, he eats them. And then things get weird. He starts swaying, acting strangely, experiencing effects he's never felt before. This unwitting ape has just discovered what humans would eventually turn into one of the most significant beverages in history: alcohol. So what just happened? Those overripe fruits attracted tiny microscopic organisms called yeasts. These yeasts love sugar, and as they feast on the fruit's natural sugars, they produce a special compound called ethanol. That's the alcohol in beer, wine, and every alcoholic drink you've ever heard of. This natural process is called fermentation, and it happens all by itself in nature. No human intervention needed. But when did humans figure this out? Nobody knows exactly, but the earliest evidence we have comes from ancient China, around 7000 BCE. Archaeologists found residue in old clay pots that proved people were making alcoholic beverages from fermented rice, millet, grapes, and honey. That's 9,000 years ago. And within just a few thousand years after that, cultures all over the world were fermenting their own drinks. In ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt, beer wasn't just a luxury. It was everywhere. They made it year-round from stored cereal grains, and it was available to everyone, from pharaohs to workers. In fact, workers received beer as part of their daily rations. Imagine getting paid in beer. They also made wine, but because grapes didn't grow well in their hot climate, wine was rare and expensive, reserved for the wealthy elite. Meanwhile, over in Greece and Rome, the situation was completely opposite. Grapes grew easily there, so wine was as common as beer was in Egypt. Everyone could afford it. It flowed at parties, religious ceremonies, and everyday meals. Here's the fascinating part. Because yeasts will ferment basically any plant sugar, ancient peoples made alcohol from whatever grew where they lived. In South America, people made chicha from grains, sometimes adding hallucinogenic herbs for extra effects. In what's now Mexico, pulque made from cactus sap was the drink of choice. East Africans made beer from bananas and palm trees. And in Japan, people made sake from rice. Almost every region on Earth developed its own unique fermented beverage, based on local crops. As alcohol became part of everyday life across civilizations, people had very different opinions about it. Greek physicians praised wine as good for health, and believed it had medicinal properties. Poets claimed it enhanced creativity and inspiration. But Greek philosophers weren't so enthusiastic. They promoted temperance and warned against excessive drinking. Early Jewish and Christian writers in Europe integrated wine into religious rituals, but they considered drunkenness a sin. And in the Middle East, Africa, and Spain, Islamic rules initially banned praying while drunk, which gradually evolved into a complete prohibition of alcohol. For thousands of years, all these fermented drinks had one thing in common: relatively low alcohol content. Here's why. Natural fermentation tops out at about 13% alcohol. When yeasts produce alcohol, they also create toxic byproducts. Once the alcohol concentration reaches around 13%, these byproducts become so toxic they actually kill the yeasts themselves. When the yeasts die, fermentation stops, and the alcohol content can't increase any further. This natural limit existed for millennia. Until the 9th century, when everything changed. Arabic scientists discovered a revolutionary process called distillation. The concept is brilliant. You boil fermented liquid, and because alcohol boils at a lower temperature than water, it vaporizes first. Capture that vapor, cool it down, and you're left with liquid alcohol that's far more concentrated than any fermented beverage could ever be. These new spirits were incredibly powerful. At first, these stronger spirits were used mainly for medicinal purposes, but people quickly realized spirits had another amazing property. Unlike beer and wine, they didn't spoil. This made them perfect for trade. Rum made from sugar, harvested in European colonies in the Caribbean, became a staple for sailors, and was traded extensively to North America. Europeans brought brandy and gin to Africa and traded them for enslaved people, land, and valuable goods like palm oil and rubber. In these regions, spirits literally became a form of currency. During the age of exploration, spirits played a crucial role that most people don't know about. Sailing from Europe to East Asia or the Americas could take months. Keeping water fresh for crews was a massive challenge. The solution? Add a bucket of brandy to each water barrel. The alcohol acted as a preservative, killing harmful microbes and keeping the water drinkable for much longer. So by the 1600s, alcohol had evolved from simply giving animals a buzz to fueling global trade, exploration, colonization, and unfortunately, the slave trade. What started as a chimpanzee eating fermented fruit had become a force that shaped empires, funded voyages, and changed the course of human history. And as time went on, its role in society would only become more complicated, more controversial, and more deeply woven into the fabric of human civilization.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next video.